Hey everyone, welcome to our complete walkthrough of Git and GitHub. In this session, we will cover exactly what you need to learn as a beginner in the industry. First, we will understand the core problem that version control solves. Second, we will strictly look at Git and the exact daily workflow to track your code locally. Third, we will learn how to take our code to the cloud using GitHub, where we will also cover how to safely experiment with branches and handle emergency survival skills like stashing with your remote team. So let's start our journey with the very first step by understanding the version control. But the question arises, why we need this? Imagine you and your three teammates are working on a massive website together. You email the main code file to your teammate and they start adding a new feature. Meanwhile, you continue working on the same exact file on your laptop. When your teammates email their finished version back to you, the question arises, how do you combine them? If you just copy and paste, maybe you accidentally overwrite your own hard work. To avoid this, you would have to sit down and read line by manually merge the code together. This nightmare of overwriting code, losing history, and breaking projects is exactly the chaos. And so that the version control systems were created to solve this chaos. The main work of version control is to track and manage changes to your project files over time. Because of the untracked version problems, we use version control. But what is the relationship of Git and GitHub with this version control? On this part, first let's clear up the concept of them. Here, the first thing that makes every new developer confused is that Git and GitHub look the same, but they are not the same thing. Git is the actual software installed inside your local computer that tracks your code history offline and prevent those override disasters, which exactly version controls do. While GitHub is a cloud platform where these projects are stored online so teams can collaborate remotely. Think of it like Git is the engine and GitHub is the online platform where projects are stored and shared. So that's the quick introduction about Git and GitHub. Now let's start with Git. Before we track any history, we must prepare our local environment. For this, let's follow some steps. First, we need to install the Git into our local system. To start, you need to download Git from the official website, that is git.scm. For this, let's move to our browser and here search for Git only, like this. You will notice the website with the Git title. Click on this and you will see the information. Because I am using a Mac, hence it shows me to install for Mac. Click on this button. Here you will see multiple command line options. Select any command, but I recommend to go with Homebrew. So I'm copying this like this and let's go to our terminal. Over here, I am pasting the command and hit enter. Once I done it, you will see the process is started. You need to wait for some time and boom, it's done. Over here, I am typing git ---- version like this and hit enter. After this, you will see the version name like this, which means Git is installed successfully. Otherwise, it's not. So after verification, we need to focus on configuration. So before you type any code, you need to introduce yourself to Git. If you are working with teammates, everyone needs to know exactly who wrote a specific feature or introduced a bug. Since Git doesn't know who you are automatically, we have to tell it. So why exactly we are using it? To set your author name and email address for your commits so your team can easily identify your work. Here, the command is git config ---- global user.name and git config ---- global user.email. For example, if your name is John Doe, so we will go with git config ---- global user.name and your name, that is John Doe. Let's understand how we can implement this. Now let's create a brand new folder for a project on local computer, and inside it, create a file named index.html. So let's work on it. For this, first of all, you need to find out where exactly you are and how many folders or directories are available. For this, you have to type ls like this and hit enter. And you will see these kind of directories we have. I want to create folder on desktop directory. So first of all, we need to change the directory. For this, type cd and then the name of directory where you want to switch. In our case, it is desktop, so I am writing desktop. Make sure it should be written just like the spelling, whatever given above. Once done, then hit enter like this. And you will see we are switched to desktop. Once done, then I want to create a folder over here or a directory over here. For this, we have to type the command that is mkdir. Here, mkdir means making directory. And after that, we have to put the name of directory, that is project. Like this. Hit enter. Once you're done, project directory is created over here. To check whether it is created or not, type ls again. And once you hit enter, you will find out that project directory is created successfully. Once done, because we need to create the index.html file inside this project directory, so first of all, we need to switch from desktop to project. For this, again, we have to type cd like this and then the name of directory. When I hit enter, you'll see I just switched to project directory. Now, I want to create a file over here. In our case, the file name is index.html. So we need to write touch like this. And after this, the name, that is index, along with the extension, that is .html. And hit enter. To check whether it is created or not, again type ls and you will see it is available. Let's check it on the finder part. So if I switch on this, you will see the project directory is created over here. And when I go inside it, the index.html file is also created over here. Now, let's move to another concept, that is initialization of the project. You have your folder and file ready, but the issue is that Git not knows about them. So at first, we need to convert this normal folder into a Git track project. Why exactly we use it? To create an empty Git repository and start tracking your code and version history locally, we use it. So what's the command of it? Git init. Init means initialization. So let's see how we can implement this. Over here, let's learn how to implement the initialization. Kindly keep this into your mind. For the initialization, you must have to be into a targeted folder. I already told you about the changing of directories or folders. Now currently, I am on the directory which I want to initialize. Over here, type git init like this and hit enter. Over here, you will see git initialize successfully. To verify it, you have to put ls space -a like this and hit enter. Here, you will see .git file along with index.html file. It verifies the completion of initialization of this folder. Now, why exactly I put -a? Because it shows all the files, even they are hidden as well. Let me show you how. Here, if we go into our project folder like this, let me open it. And over here, you will see the .git file is still hidden. So kindly keep this into your mind. So that's how we initialize the project. Now let's move to another part, that is checking status. Into the checking status, if you want to know from Git what files it noticed and which are not, we will use git status. In short, to quickly see which files are untracked, modified, or currently staged to be bundled, git status helps to identify them. The command is git status. So let's see it into our terminal. So let's learn how to implement the command on this terminal. Before taking next step, I want to clear something. If you are working with Git, it is mandatory to be on the specific folder where we done the Git initialization. Now, I am writing the command that is git space status like this. Once I press enter, Git displays the list of files that are currently modified, newly created, or still untracked inside the repository. Here, because index.html is still untracked, yet hence it is in red. Now let's move to understand how to add up the files. Once Git tells you a file is untracked, you have to tell Git to care about it. We do this by moving it to the staging area, which is a temporary holding space where you bundle up exactly what you want to save. In short, to specify exactly which untracked or modified file you want Git to track and include in your next commit bundle, we use this. For this, the command is git add file name or git add dot. Here, dot is a shortcut that grabs every untracked or modified file in your folder. So let's implement this command in our terminal. Over here, previously we find out that index.html file is untracked. Now, let's move it to the staging area. Here, the staging area in Git is an intermediate space between your working directory and the repository. To do this, type git space add space dot. Once done, press enter. Now, let's check whether it is tracked or not by typing git space status command and press enter. Once you are done, you will see the file is now in green. That means it is tracked. That's how we can add up the files into our Git. Now, after this, let's learn how to mark up these changes permanently into the version control history. Let's move to our next part, that is committing. Now that our files are bundled in the staging area, we need to take the actual snapshot of our project to permanently record these changes in our history timeline. So in short, to create a permanent checkpoint in your project's version history, allowing you to easily look back or safely return to this state in the future, we use committing. For this, the command is git commit -m and then your message. Here, -m is used to pass the message. Let's implement this into our terminal. Here, I already added the files into the staging area. Now, we need to commit them or take a snapshot of them. To do this, type git space commit, then space -m, and because this is a new commit, hence into this double quotes, I am writing my first commit like this and press enter. It's done. Now, let's find out what we had done previously. So, let's move to viewing history. If you want to verify whether a checkpoint was saved correctly or not, the history helps us to track and identify it properly. As discussed earlier, version control systems create snapshots and maintain a history of those snapshots. In short, to display the sequential history of commits for the repository, we use viewing history. Let's go for the command. For this viewing history, we can use two different things. The first one is git log and the second one is git space log -one line. Here, the second command, that is git space log -one line, provides a condensed view of your history which shows just the commit hash and the attached message on a line for easy reading. So now, let's implement this on our terminal. Now, let's check the history of our commits into the terminal. For this, first we need to move to our folder like cd desktop/project like this. Here, just after where you commit, type git space log and hit enter. Once you are done, you will get some information like this. Let me tell you what all these things are one by one. At the first, this is the commit ID or SHA hash. At the end of it, it is said that the head is attached to the main branch. Then it shows us who exactly committed this. Then next it shows us the date, and at the end the message I passed into that commit. Similarly, if we go with another command, that is git space log space hyphen one line, and hit enter, we will get the exact information but in a condensed form. So that's how you can view your history of your snapshots. So we cover multiple commands of Git. For now, let's test your workflow understanding. So the question is, you just modify your login.html file. You immediately type git status. What will Git tell you about this file? You have 4 options. Understand the question properly and then answer. Now, let me give you the solution. The correct answer is C. The question arises why? Because you haven't run git add yet, and Git knows the file is modified because it's tracking it, but it only warns you that the current changes are not yet staged to be part of your next commit. Let me show this to you how we can do this into the terminal where we just checked our history. Over here, I am opening the index.html file into the terminal only. For this, type nano space file name, that is index.html, like this, and hit enter. Once you're done, now you look at this part. You are into the terminal's built-in code editor. Here, I am typing something like HTML, and just down here, I am closing it like this. Okay. Now we need to save it and exit. To do this, I am just press Ctrl and X to exit it. It is asking us to save it. So I am pressing Y and then hit enter like this. And your command gets saved. So in short, I made some changes into this file. Now, Git already knows my file and it tracks it as well. But the changes I made are necessary or not, Git doesn't know about this. We need to provide this to Git. Hence, if I write git space status like this and hit enter, you will see I get this. Because our file gets modified, that's why I'm getting index.html file in red. Okay. While if I add it, if the changes, whatever I made, if I add them, to do this, I need to write git add then dot. When I hit enter, and again when I go with git status, you will see the changes are done. So that's the exact solution, whatever question I asked you over there. Now, let's move to next part. So far, everything lives only on your personal laptop. But what happens if your laptop crashes? Definitely, your entire project could be lost. Also, imagine you and your teammates are working from different locations. How will you share code, track changes, and collaborate efficiently? This is where GitHub becomes important. As I already stated previously, GitHub is a cloud-based platform that helps developers store, manage, and collaborate on code projects using Git. To work with GitHub, let's learn from where we need to start. Since it's a web application, hence you need to create a free account first. For this, and over here, type github.com like this. Hit enter. Once done, you will see GitHub website will open. Over here, click on sign up to create an account first. Let me create it in front of you. The recommended way is to sign up with Google, but over here, I am filling the form for you. So it is and create account. It will going to verify the account. Once the verification is complete, you will going to enter the code, whatever you will receive over this email. Once it's done, you will see lot of things are given here. But for now, just ignore them. For the very first, I am including a README file here. To do this, click the text README over here and you are on the README Markdown editor. I am putting something here like once done, you can also see the preview like this. Now, over the top right corner, I'll click on commit changes like this. And here, just pass the message. Click on commit changes. Here, whatever commit I told you into the Git session, it is the same here. Now, let's move to next part, that is cloning. If you join a company tomorrow, you don't start from scratch with Git in it. If the project already exists on their GitHub, you just need a way to download their entire project folder to your laptop instantly. So in short, to copy a complete remote repository from GitHub to your local machine so you can start working on it, we will use cloning. The command is git clone and then URL. Here at the place of URL, you need to put the URL of the specific repository as shown into the example. So in our case, because the repository is already built by us, I am going to show you how to clone the repo into your laptop. For this, first let's move to our terminal again. Into this, let's set the address at first where you want to clone our repository. To do this, write cd space desktop like this, hit enter. Now here, let's check the folders available by ls. Over here, let's create a new folder with the name myrepo. So I'm using mkdir space myrepo. Hit enter. Let's again check it by ls. MyRepo is successfully created. Let's move to myrepo like this. Hit enter. It is very similar when you define the location where we want to save our downloaded files. Now, let's move to our command. So for this, type git space clone. And over here, we need the URL of the repository. For this, let's first copy the URL of repository and then paste it here. So I am going to the browser over here. I'm copy this, come to terminal again and paste it. Hit enter. And it's done. So let's just do ls again to find out whether it is downloaded or not. So it's perfectly downloaded. And if you go to Finder window, you also find out the my repo is available over here. My first repo is there. Perfect. Now, let's move inside this my first repo. To do this, let's go with cd and hit enter like this. Again to the ls and you will find out readme.md file. Okay. So if you look on this repository, we only created the same file, that is readme.md. And to check it whether the same content is available or not, I am going to put it inside code editor. So it is nano readme.md. And when I hit enter, you will see the only content, whatever is visible here, is also available over there. Yes. So that means we exactly clone the same file or whatever we had created into the repository. So that's the concept of cloning. Now, let's make some changes into this existing file and check whether it is changing on the GitHub repository or not. For this, again, I am using nano space readme.md file. Hit enter. Inside it, I am writing another thing like I made some changes. Save it like this. Now to update the code on GitHub repository, we will use push. So let's understand the concept of push.